Anthropic built a model so capable it decided the world wasn't ready for it. Meanwhile, Meta just quietly turned its AI app into one of the most downloaded apps on the planet. Both things happened this week, and they tell very different stories about where this industry is heading. Today we have 5 stories that cut across the full spectrum of AI right now. Meta's AI app surges to number 5 on the App Store after a new model launch. Anthropic limits its newest model, and the explanation it's offering raises more questions than it answers. A new research framework tries to formally define what AI memory actually is. A paper argues that safety-trained LLMs are failing users by refusing to help them challenge unjust rules. And researchers warn that letting AI judge AI-generated disinformation is a much riskier shortcut than the industry assumes. Let's get into it. A week ago, the Meta AI app was sitting at number 57 on the App Store. That's a fine ranking for a utility app, not a statement. Then Meta launched Muse Spark, its new creative AI model, and the app jumped to number 5. That is a statement. To put that in context, cracking the App Store top 5 means you're competing with apps like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram for daily attention. For an AI assistant to land there is genuinely significant. And it's not something that happens by accident. What's driving this? A few things. Meta has a distribution advantage that almost no one else in AI can match. Billions of people already use its platforms. Muse Spark appears to have given existing users a compelling reason to download the standalone app rather than just accessing Meta AI through WhatsApp or Instagram. That's a meaningful shift in user behavior. The broader implication here is that the AI assistant market is not locked up. OpenAI's ChatGPT has been the default for most casual users. But Meta is showing that the right feature drop at the right moment can move the needle fast. Distribution plus a compelling model is a powerful combination, and Meta has both. Watch this number over the next 2 weeks. Anthropic has a new model called Mythos, and it's not releasing it widely. The reason it gave: Mythos is too good at finding security vulnerabilities in software that millions of people depend on. In other words, it's too dangerous to put in everyone's hands. That's a serious claim. And it deserves to be taken seriously. We know from previous research, including work tied to Anthropic's own Claude models, that frontier LLMs can identify and in some cases exploit real security flaws. If Mythos has pushed meaningfully further on that capability, a cautious rollout is defensible. But TechCrunch is asking a harder question. Is the cybersecurity concern the real reason, or is it cover for something else? Maybe Mythos has alignment issues that aren't fully solved. Maybe it behaves unpredictably at scale. Maybe Anthropic is buying time to study it more carefully before it becomes a liability. This matters because the narrative of responsible AI development depends on transparency. If frontier labs start citing safety concerns as a catch, all justification for decisions that may have other motivations, it erodes trust in the whole framework. Anthropic has built its brand on being the safety-first lab. That reputation is an asset, but it's also a standard they now have to meet every time they make a call like this. Here's a problem that doesn't get enough attention. AI systems have been sold on memory for years. RAG pipelines, vector databases, long context windows, user profile layers. But there has never been a formal framework for measuring whether any of it actually works in a meaningful way. Until now, researchers have published ATANT, Automated Test for Acceptance of Narrative Truth, an open evaluation framework designed to measure what they call continuity in AI systems. That's the ability to persist, update, disambiguate, and reconstruct meaningful context across time. Not just recall a fact, but actually maintain a coherent understanding of a conversation or a user situation as it evolves. This is a more sophisticated target than it might sound. Any model with a long enough context window can technically remember what you said 10 minutes ago. But can it update its understanding when you contradict yourself? Can it recognize when 2 pieces of information it holds are in conflict? Can it reconstruct context after a gap? Those are harder problems. The value of ATANT is that it gives the industry a shared vocabulary and a benchmark. Right now, memory claims in AI products are largely marketing. With a formal framework, developers and researchers can actually compare systems and call out gaps. That's the kind of infrastructure that makes a field mature. This paper is worth watching, especially as agentic AI systems that need to operate over long time horizons become more common. Safety-trained language models refuse things. That's by design, but a new paper argues that the refusal logic baked into most LLMs is morally unsophisticated in a way that actively harms users. And the researchers have the data to back it up. The paper introduces the concept of blind refusal. When a model refuses to help a user circumvent a rule, even when that rule is imposed by an illegitimate authority, is deeply unjust, or clearly admits of justified exceptions. The classic example is someone asking an AI to help them navigate a workplace policy that is discriminatory. The AI refuses because it detects a rule circumvention request without any reasoning about whether the rule deserves to be followed. This is a real problem, and it's been hiding in plain sight. AI safety discourse has focused heavily on preventing harmful outputs. But there's a parallel failure mode, an AI that enforces compliance with unjust systems because it can't distinguish between a rule and a legitimate rule. That's not safety. That's moral abdication dressed up as caution. The researchers frame this as a failure of moral reasoning, not a feature. That framing is important. It pushes back against the idea that more refusals equal more safety. Sometimes refusing is the unsafe choice. The industry needs better evaluation criteria for when refusal is appropriate, and this paper is a strong push in that direction. As LLMs get better at generating persuasive text, the question of how to evaluate the risk of AI-generated disinformation has become urgent. The industry's current answer, increasingly, is to use other LLMs as judges. It's fast, it's cheap, and it scales. A new paper argues it's also unreliable in ways that matter. The researchers reframe the evaluation problem. The real risk of AI-generated disinformation isn't how polished it looks to another AI. It's how convincing it is to actual human readers. Those are different targets. An LLM judge evaluating disinformation tends to assess surface-level features, coherence, fluency, factual plausibility. But human readers are influenced by emotional resonance, narrative framing, and whether the content confirms what they already believe. An AI judge largely misses those dimensions. The practical implication is significant. If platforms and researchers are using LLM-based evaluation pipelines to assess disinformation risk, they may be systematically underestimating how dangerous specific content actually is, or flagging the wrong things entirely. This paper doesn't say AI judges are useless. It says they're a flawed proxy for the thing we actually care about, which is human persuasion. That distinction needs to be built into how we design safety systems for generative AI. Using AI to police AI without understanding where that loop breaks down is not a safety strategy. It's a false sense of security. Step back and look at these 5 stories together, and a clear tension emerges. AI is becoming more powerful and more commercially successful faster than our frameworks for governing it can keep up. Meta's app surge is the commercial story. Distribution plus a compelling model equals rapid adoption, and the AI assistant market is more competitive than it looked 6 months ago. That's a healthy sign for the industry. But the other 4 stories are all in different ways, about the same underlying problem. We don't yet have reliable tools to evaluate what AI systems are actually doing. Anthropic can't fully explain why Mythos is dangerous enough to withhold. ATANT exists because we've been shipping memory features without any formal way to test them. The blind refusal paper shows that safety training is producing morally unsophisticated behavior that nobody designed. And the disinformation paper shows that the evaluation tools we're using to assess AI risk are themselves unreliable. The pattern here isn't doom. It's a field that's scaling faster than its measurement infrastructure. The models are outrunning the benchmarks, the safety frameworks, and in some cases the judgment of the labs building them. The good news is that researchers are naming these gaps clearly. The question is whether the labs and platforms deploying these systems are moving fast enough to close them. Here's the question I want to leave you with. If AI labs can limit model releases for safety reasons without being fully transparent about what those reasons are, how much does the public trust they've built actually mean? Drop your take in the comments. I'm genuinely curious where you land on that one. If you want this level of analysis every day, subscribe and hit the bell. We'll be back tomorrow with whatever the AI world throws at us next.